Okay, Abid. So in math, we'll start with DS concepts, Abid, first of all.
Okay.
So what happens in math that there are two types of problem asked. One is your DS and one is your problem solving. Okay. So there are
Mm-hmm.
total 31 questions in math and you will have 62 minutes for it. So you'll have 2 minutes per question, Abid. And if you are doing good in math, Abid, if you are doing good in math, you can expect a number of DS questions to be almost 20 to 23 and rest will be your problem solving. Even if you are doing bad in math, you will have a DS problem from 18 to 20. GMAT loves giving you data sufficiency problem because it requires a lot of thinking. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll start with DS concepts. This is a simple calculation of math in the GMAT exam. There's no point of me giving philosophy. I feel your math is a bit good one, Abid. Right?
Yes, yes.
So let's start with the
At
DS.
least
Yes,
I
tell me.
hope so.
Yeah, sure. Abid. Have confidence on that. So let's start with DS concept of it. In what happens in data sufficiency problems of it, there are two types of data sufficiency problems that are asked front of you. One is type and one is what type. Okay. Clear a bit?
Clear.
So in is type, what happens? You have two type of answer: confirm yes and confirm no.
Mm-hmm.
Both are accepted answer of it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Okay.
And in what type of questions, what happen? You must have an answer as a unique numeric value. Unique numeric value. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to first this type of questions, Aved. Let's understand what is the concept of this type. So it's very easy to say कि confirm yes and confirm no are the accepted answer. But what exactly is this confirm yes and confirm no? Okay. So let me give some example to you. So let's say if the question is Aved, is x greater than 20? The first option that I'm giving you is x is greater than 15. The second option that I'm giving you x is less than 10. What will be the answer? Now you know what ABCD stands for, right, Aved?
Yes.
So A stands for statement number 1 alone is sufficient to answer the question.
Okay.
B stands for statement number 2 alone is sufficient to answer the question, but 1 is not sufficient. Okay.
Okay.
C stands for statement number 1 and statement number 2 combined. So what happens a bit? See, first of all, you need to understand. Whenever you try and solve a problem of data sufficiency problem, you need to look into the statement number 1 individually. You
Mm-hmm.
need to look into statement number 2 individually. Okay. So if you
Mm-hmm.
can answer this question by any one statement, it's absolutely fine. You can mark answer A, B, whatever you wish. But Abed, you technically try and combine the equation when two statements are individually not sufficient to answer the question. It should be very clear to you.
Okay.
You try and combine these statements only when they are not alone sufficient, only then you try and combine. So there are a lot of C traps of problem that are given to you in data sufficiency. So what happens? You look into a question, Abed, and when you look into the question statement number 1 and 2, you straight away feel that, oh, if I combine it, I'll get the answer. And a lot of time, many people mark answer C. They move on by marking answer
Mm-hmm.
C. But it may happen that statement in that particular question, any one statement alone is sufficient to answer the question.
Okay.
So you always give preference to when statements are individually sufficient, because logically you only combine the statement when you feel that statement number 1 and 2 are not sufficient to answer. So if you straight away
Okay.
mark answer C and any one statement is individually sufficient to answer the question, then you are doing it wrong.
Okay.
And D says what with statement number 1 alone is sufficient and statement number 2 alone is sufficient.
Okay.
And E says none of these, when the question cannot be answered with the help of these two statements, right? So
Right.
now, Abed, this is simple question in front of you. So what happens in data sufficiency, Abed? The first thing that you look into the question, that is the question is type or what type, okay? If the question is type, you have a confirm yes and confirm no as accepted answer for yourself. If a
Okay.
question is what type, you must have a unique numeric value as answer. So the question that I have given you is a is type question, that is x greater than 20. There are two statements given in front of you, x is greater than 15 and x is less than 10. Tell me the answer A, B, C, D.
So the answer is E.
E.
Mm.
Wrong, my dear Ved. So
Oh no.
first of all, see, is type may the simple logic practically we can take what Ved is that if I ask your name, that is your name Rahul, what is the answer? No.
Mm-hmm.
If I ask your name, is your name Abed? What's your answer? Yes. So
Yes.
to both the question, you have given me the right answers, right? So when you said, when I asked you, is your name Rahul? You said no, but that no is not a wrong answer. Please try and understand. That's a correct answer, right?
Okay.
So it's simple. When it says is x greater than 20, option number one, what I have away, that x is greater than 20, 15, right? So from option number one, I can say x is equal to 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 18 is less than 20, correct?
Oh. Now I see. Now I see what you mean.
Yes. And now you can also say x can be 25 also, which is greater than 20. So there is a no situation here that it is not greater than 20. There is a yes situation here. So Abed, the simple understanding of doing a data sufficiency statement says, whenever you are trying and solving a statement, your entire focus should be to create a yes and no situation. Okay. If you can create a yes and no situation in one statement, it means that a statement is not sufficient. Got it?
Got it.
So option number one says x is greater than 15. I can take x is equal to anything, 16, 17, 18, 19, whatever. So if I take 18, I see that this is not greater than 20. When I take 25, I see that it is greater than 20. So I have a yes and no situation in the same statement. I will say it is not sufficient, right?
Right.
Now, second statement says what a bit, x is less than 10. X is less than 10 means what? X can be your 9, 8, any number to minus infinity, right?
Yes.
So you take any number over here less than 10. Can you say it is greater than 20?
I can say it's not greater than 20.
Absolutely. So it is a confirm no situation, right?
Yes.
So when I ask you a question, is x greater than 20? With option number two, you are telling me, Rahul, no, x is not greater than 20. So it's an answer. This is sufficient to answer the question. So statement number B is sufficient to answer the question. Is that clear, Abid?
Very clear. Yes.
So confirm no is also accepted answer. So please understand in this type of question, confirm yes and confirm no.
Okay.
Both are accepted answer. Right?
Okay.
So let's say if I ask you a question a bit simple. Is x greater than 50? I've given you option x is greater than 55. I've given you option x is less than 52. What is the answer for you?
1 second.
Simple. You just have to look. The question is this type. So think about confirm yes or confirm no. So when I say x is greater than 55 away, it means automatically means all the numbers has to be greater than 50 for sure, right?
Yes.
So it's a confirm yes answer for sure from option number one, because you take any value which is greater than 55, that value will surely be greater than 50, right?
Yes.
So it's a confirm yes answer. There is no situation at all. Now, when I say x is less than 52, I can also say x is equal to 51 a bit.
Yes, and I can say it's 49.
Absolutely, which is greater than 50. I can also say x is equal to 49, which is less than 50. I have a yes situation to this. I have a no situation to this. So this is not sufficient. Correct?
Yeah.
So,
Clear.
Abid, so what happens is that just knowing the is concept is not enough. You must be in position to use the is concept while you're solving a problem. So what we'll do is that we'll solve 3 or 4 problems now from random chapters in order to ensure that how you try and attempt a DS problems. Okay. So let me open a DS handout. One second. I'll have to go and look into because I've formatted my system of it, so everything is gone from here. So this is open inequality. Okay, so what we do now is that I will try and solve some problems related to is concept because that's very important. So Abid, before we go and solve the questions, I just wanted to know, you tell me triangle, this is triangle ABC, right? Okay. So we'll be anyway discussing all these questions with the individual chapters, but it's just that I want to see exactly what is your understanding with this type of problem, because it's very important to learn a way that how you use that is concept while you are solving a problem. Fine.
Okay.
So let's say
Okay.
let's say ABC is a triangle. Okay. So in what condition it's a for right angle triangle? What is the condition that it should satisfy? ABC is a right angle triangle. I'm telling you, ABC is a right angle triangle.
So it's AB squared plus
Absolutely.
BC squared.
So it's the
equals
Pythagoras
A.
theorem should satisfy, right? That is AC square is equal to nothing but AB square plus BC square. If this condition is met, criteria is met, then a triangle is a right angle triangle. Let's say this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. Now I know that 3 square plus 4 square is equal to 5 square, correct? So 3 square is nothing but 9 plus 16 is equal to 25. So 25 is equal to 25. So I can say this is a right angle triangle, right?
Okay.
Perfect. Now this is just you need to solve this question. So try solving question number 7 in front of me a bit. Take 2 minutes, think about it and solve. I'll get the water.
If AB is equal to... Sorry. Okay. Okay, so I think I don't know how am I getting to the answer. I think then I need to check each information provided.
Please take time. Check. Have a notebook front of you. Please try and solve.
Okay.
Math is all about solving a bit. There is no theory in math. If someone who is teaching you theory is straight away betraying you. That's as simple as it is. How much ever bad you are, how much ever good you are, end of the day, you learn math only by solving problem, not by reading theory for sure. So how do you approach this problem? It says that if the length of side AB is 17, is triangle ABC a right angle triangle, right? So let's say ABC is a right angle triangle, okay? Let's say this is ABC. Now it is given that length of side AB is 17.
Yes.
Now the question is asking you, is triangle ABC a right angle triangle? Okay. So option number 1 says you obeyed that BC is equal to 144. Option number 2 says you AC is equal to 145. That's what is given to you. Now they're asking you a question, is triangle ABC a right angle triangle? What you need to do for this? Tell me. So the whole point is simple, that if a triangle has to be a right angle triangle, it must satisfy this condition. There is no any other way to check a triangle is a right angle triangle or not, right? Algebraically, this is the only way to check the triangle is a right angle triangle, that is the hypotenuse square is equal to sum of the square of their sides, right?
Right.
So option number 1 says BC is 144, Abid. But still I have no idea about AC. I know that this is 17 square, this is 144 square. But I have no idea about what the AC is, right?
Yes.
So absolutely this is not sufficient for sure. Correct?
Yes.
And the whole point is, Aved, when you look into option number 2, you should not carry the information of option number 1 with you. That's a plain rule in GMAT, in data sufficiency. When you are looking the statement individually, so when you are looking at statement number 2, statement number 1 should be extinct for you. There should not be anything called statement number 1. So now I'm looking into statement number 2. So BC of 144 is gone. Now I'm given that AC is 145. Right?
Okay.
So again, AC is 145. So what happens now is that I know this is 145 square, but I don't know what exactly is the BC.
Is BC? Yes.
I don't know what is BC. Right?
Yes.
So obviously, again, this is not sufficient. Correct, Abid?
Correct.
So now my A and B options are gone. Now I try and combine it. Now I know that option number 1 is not sufficient for sure. I know option number 2 is not sufficient for sure. Only then I try and combine it. Now when I combine it away, I have 17, 145, 144 here. Correct? Now tell me, is this sufficient or not?
So like the first thing I would do, I would try to calculate that, but maybe there is an easy.
The whole point is a bit that if you calculate that, you will easily be taking 2 minutes. But
Exactly,
the point here is that GMAT expected you to do this question in 20 seconds. So how is this expectations? You need to, how do you fulfill these expectations? That's as simple as it is. So what happens a bit, first of all, what you need to do, the question is what is type, right? This is very important a bit. You may solve the most trickiest of trickiest problem, but it should be very clear to you as to what exactly is the question. The question is type, right? In S type, what happens a bit, confirm yes and confirm no. Both are accepted answer, right?
Okay.
Correct? Understood?
Yeah, understood.
Now a bit, now I have an option called 145 square is equal to 17 square plus 144 square, right? Now when I combine, I have these options front of me. Now there are two things available front of you. Either you calculate and get the answer, or you get the answer by using confirm yes and confirm no concept. So let's say the value of 145 square is equal to A, okay? Let's say the value of 17 square plus 145 square is equal to B, or let's say if not AB, you take it XY because ABC is already a denotation of a triangle. So let's say the value of 145 square is equal to X, value of 17 square plus 145 square is equal to Y, correct?
Correct.
So Abid, let's say you calculate it and you get a situation called if X is equal to Y.
Then it's a confirm.
Then it's a confirm yes answer. Correct?
Yes.
Mark your answer as a C. Correct?
Yes.
Now in other situation, what can happen? That either you get a value X is equal to Y or you get a X not equal to Y. That's all. Right?
Okay, now that's a confirmed no.
That's
and
a
it's
confirmed
still
no. And it is still your answer.
And still C is my answer.
Still C is your answer.
Oh.
So Abid, so just knowing S type of concept is not important. You must be very much in good position to apply in the context of solving question. So see how much time you have saved here. It is, and the whole point is Abid, if at all you are doing this type of calculation in GMAT, trust me, you have to think, you have to wait for a moment in exam and think that you are doing wrong.
Okay.
GMAT will never ever, to my experience, all I can say, GMAT will never ever give you that you calculate 145 cross 145 or 17 cross 17 or 144, because GMAT do not test you on your calculative power at all. GMAT just tests you on your thought process as to what is your thought process. So there are two thought process here. Either you can take a situation where you try and solve it, waste your 2 minutes, and you can take a simple situation whether you be smart to exactly know what is the question asking you. But if for a moment you think that this does not strike in your head, and there may be a high probability that it does not strike because exam pressures are different, right? If at all you have to calculate, what will you do? Now tell me. How do you calculate? So it's simple, Abid, nothing. Bring it this side. Right? Can you do 145 plus 144 into 145 minus 144 is equal to 17 square? Is this right? I did nothing. I have done a square minus b square is equal to a plus b into a minus b. Clear?
Clear.
So see this 9, 8, 2 cross 1 and 17 square is nothing but 289. So left hand side is equal to right hand side. So actually what happens that if at all you try and calculate it, you will get that 145 square is equal to 17 square plus 144 square. Okay. So this is the type how GMAT frames it question. If at all you have to calculate, this should be a calculation that you do, not 145 square into 145 square. But if at all, see the worst case is remember the calculation of 45. So what is 25 into 25? 5 5s are 25, right?
Yes.
And in place of this 2, you do it 3 and multiply with 2. 3 into 2, 6. Now let's say if I ask you what is 35 cross 35? 5 5 25, right? In place of this 4, in place of this 3, you take 4, increase by 1 and multiply here. 4 into 3, 12. This will be your answer. Let's say 65 into 65. So 5, 5, 25. In place of this 6, you do it 7, multiply this. 7, 6 are 42.
So,
42. This is
wow.
your answer. So if you are doing it 10, 105 into 105, do nothing. This is 25. Take this as 11. 11 into 10 is 110. So this will be your answer. So if you had one, but it's only with 5, 5 numbers, not with all numbers. 25,
Oh, okay.
35, 35, 45, 45, 55, 55. Okay. Okay,
Okay.
so this is clear, right? This is understood properly, correct?
Very well.
Okay, now you solve one more question a bit based on S type. Try solving question number 1.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, SP over Q terminating decimal. What does terminating decimal mean?
Yes, so terminating decimal is which stops. Terminating decimal means which stops, like 1 by 2. So 1 over 2 is what? 0.5, right? And non-terminating means what, Abid?
1 over 3.
Perfect. Good, Abid. 1 over 3, that is 0.333, which does not stop, which keeps going on. So this is non-terminating. So the question is simple front of you. And P is a factor of 100 means what? When I say 2 is a factor of 100, what do you mean by this?
2 is a factor of 100.
Like let's say 10. 2 is a factor of 10. What do you mean by this? It means simple means that when you divide 10 by 2, you get the remainder 0. This means factor, that's all. So when I say 2 is a factor of 10, it means you divide 10 by 2, remainder will be 0. When I say 3 is a factor of 9, it means you divide 9 by 3 and the remainder is 0. So you can't say 3 is a factor of 10. Why can't you say 3 is a factor of 10? Because when you divide,
the
remainder is not 0, it is 1. Okay. So please take 2 minutes, Abed, and think on question number 1.
Okay. Okay, so just thinking out loud. P is a factor of 100.
Yes.
Okay, this is good.
Yep.
But let's try different variations. Let's say, yeah. So let's say P is like, let's say 10 or 5 or whatever.
Absolutely. Is P by Q or terminating decimal? This is your question.
Yes.
Option number 1 says P is a factor of 100. Okay. Option number 2 says Q is a factor of 100.
Yes.
Correct. So
yes.
Let's look for option number 1. Okay. So when I look for option number 1, so when you are solving a S type of question, Abid, in data sufficiency, what should be your motto? To bring a yes and no situation in all the statements.
Yes.
So that you say the statement is not sufficient, right? So from option number 1, I just know about the P. I have no idea about the Q, right? So I can actually, so it says that P is a factor of 100. So what are the values of P I can take? I can take 2, I can take 4, I can take 5, I can take 10, I can take 20, I can take 25, I can take 50, I can take 100. So these are the restricted value that I can take for P, right?
Yes.
So let me assume a bit P is equal to 2. I have no idea about Q. I'll assume that Q is equal to also 2. So what I get, P by Q is equal to nothing but 2 by 2, that is 1.
You get,
And this is nothing but terminating. Perfect? A yes situation?
yes. Yes.
Now, Abid, in second scenario, I'll say again P is equal to 2 and Q
And
I'll
Q is,
assume is 3. Right? I
yeah.
can assume anything, whatever I win, because, and why I will assume anything? Because my entire focus is to create a no situation. I've created a yes situation, right? With this set of number, I've created a yes situation. So I'm trying to create a no situation. So P by Q is nothing but, let's say 2 by 3, and 2 by 3 is nothing but 0.666. It's a non-terminating.
Yeah.
So this is a no situation. I've got a yes and no situation. I can say this statement is not sufficient for sure. Right?
Yes.
And second statement says Q is a factor of 100. So please tell me a yes or no situation if you are saying it not sufficient, sufficient, whatever. Please try statement number 2.
Okay. So same thing. Q could be 2, 4, 5, 10, 20.
Absolutely.
And then we can
You can be all these values.
yes.
It
And then we can
2,
say
4,
if
5, 10, 20, 25, 50, 100. Now tell me two numbers.
so let's say Q is 2, same thing, and P could be 7.
Anything. Let's say P is 7, Q is equal to 2. So P by Q is surely terminating. 7 by 2 is nothing but 3.5 terminating. Tell me a number which is not terminating. So yes condition.
Okay. I can't think of a one.
Why? Think. So first of all, understand this is 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 5.
Oh,
So
okay.
you divide any number by this number, it will always be terminating for sure, right? If these numbers, you take these numbers away and divide any number with these numbers, it will always be terminating condition, right? But
I don't know. I'm not thinking. Yeah.
no, I'll tell you. But a bit,
Yeah.
the question is what if P and Q are terminating decimal, right? Is P by Q a
Yes.
terminating decimal, P over Q? But nowhere it is mentioned that P and Q are integers in the question. Correct?
Ooh.
Nowhere it is
Yes.
mentioned. So if you do not read the question properly, you are bound to get wrong. How much ever confident you may be that you have done it right. So if I take a situation where P is, let's say 1 by 3, and I would take Q is equal to 2, right? Then I get P by Q is nothing but
1
1 by
over
3
6.
by 2 is that 1 over 6, and this is non-terminating. And this is a no situation. So again, this is not sufficient. Correct?
Very correct. Yes.
But when you combine this a bit, now you're restricted to take P only these number, Q only these number. P and Q only such numbers. So this will always be terminating. Always. Now, I'll tell you why it is. C is the answer. But see here a bit. What is the understanding from this question that you, what is the takeaway from this question is that you divide any number. You divide any number by 2, okay? Or divide any number by 5. Or you divide any number by 2 cross 5. Or you divide any number by 2 to the power m into 5 to the power n. And this could be also 2 to the power m and 5 to the power n. No issue. You can divide any number by 2 or power of 2, 5 or power of 5, or 2 cross 5, or power of 2 cross into 5 cross 5, right? You will get terminating condition only in these terms. There is no other place you will get a terminating condition. Please understand this. if you divide any number by 2 or power of 2, if you divide any number by 5 or power of 5, if you divide any number by 2 cross 5, or if you divide any number by 2 to the power something cross 5 to the power something, only in this case you get terminating condition. So when I said you ki 1 by 6 is non-terminating, why did I say you this straight away without dividing a bit? Because 1 by 6 is nothing but 1 by 2 cross 3, right? So there is no 5 over here. So it is 100% non-terminating. You can divide and check it out. Understood?
Yes.
So if the question would have been this, Abed, that if P and Q are integer, is P by Q a terminating decimal? And the option number 1 would have been P is a factor of 100. Option number 2 would have been Q is a factor of 100. What would have been your answer now? Please tell me. Think.
B.
Brilliant. Because now you are not supposed to take Q as P as a fraction.
Yes.
This is gone. You can't do this. So straight answer should be B. Got it, Abid?
Got it. But
Good.
now for the lack of mentioning it's a decimal.
What?
But I'm saying because the question did not mention it's a decimal.
Yeah, the question has straight away restricted you that you have to take P and Q only as integers. You can't take fractions and all.
Then
so
it's
in that
actually
case, Q is a factor of 100 and factor of 100 is nothing but, see here, this is 2, this is nothing but 2 square, this is nothing but 5, absolutely fine, 10 is nothing but 2 cross 5, 20 is nothing but 2 square into 5, 25 is nothing but 5 square, 50 is nothing but 2 into 5 square, 100 is nothing but 2 square into 5 square, right?
Okay.
So this comes into picture that you divide any number by 2 or 2 to the power m, 5 or 5 to the power something, 2 cross 5 or 2 power something and 5 power something. You only get a terminating condition, else no.
Okay.
Correct, Abid? So this
Correct.
is a S type of problem. Now let's say what is the let's come to the what type of problem, Abid. So we had two types of questions in data sufficiency. One is your S type and one is your what type.
Okay. Rahul, can I take 1 minute? Sorry, just need to do something and come back in 1 minute.
Oh, sure. Please take your time.
Sorry. Okay. Hi, Rahul. Sorry, I'm back.
Hey, no issues, no issues. Okay, but now it's a what type of questions, Abid, right?
Mhm.
So what happens in what type question that you should get a unique numeric value as answer?
Mhm.
Unique numeric value as answer. Okay. So what do you mean by this? So let's say I ask you a question, Abid, what is the value of x?
Mhm.
Okay. The first statement I give you is x square is equal to 36.
Okay.
The second statement I give you as simple x is greater than, let's say, 3. So what answer you mark?
I think I need to get both. It should be C.
Absolutely. Why? Because from option number 1, what you have value of x? X can be equal
6 and
to
minus.
plus 6 or minus 6. So this is not
Yes,
sufficient because you are getting two proper value, right?
exactly.
Option number 2 says x is greater than 3. It means x could be anything, 4 or 5
Yeah.
or 6 to infinity. Again, not sufficient for sure. So when you combine them, now from option number 1, you have x is equal to plus 6 or minus 6. Option number 2 says x is greater than 2. So now your range is limited to only this bracket. That's all.
Yes. Yes.
So from here, you will get x is equal to 6 because
6.
minus 6 is negated. It is greater than 3. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so that's fine a bit. So what I'll do now, I'll make you solve some what type of problem. But before that a bit, and you know what's the perimeter of a triangle?
Parameter.
Yeah.
Perimeter. Okay, so basically the just
Sum of all the
summing
sides.
some of yeah. Okay.
So perimeter of any geometrical figure is always sum of all the sides of that geometrical figure.
Okay.
In terms of a square, this is called a circumference. That's all.
Mhm.
So let's say A, B, C. So perimeter of a triangle would be nothing but A plus B plus C. Okay.
Okay.
That's it. And what's an isosceles triangle a bit? Two sides are equal, correct?
Okay.
Isosceles means any two sides of a triangle are equal. Any two sides of a triangle are equal. So scalene triangle means none of the sides are equal. Isosceles means two sides are equal, and equilateral means all three sides
They're
are equal, right?
all equal. Yes.
All three sides are equal. So what we do here, with just based on this concept, I have a question for you. That is question number 3. Please take 2 minutes.
Okay. The length of AB is 9. Um, okay, so I think both answers are not sufficient.
Why?
Uh, So let's take the first one.
So it's
So the
let what is the
first one,
perimeter of triangle ABC? It says length of side AB
yeah,
is 9, right? But it is given what is the perimeter of isosceles triangle? It means two sides are equal.
yes.
So let's say
Oh, okay,
this is ABC, right?
yes,
But triangle is not given there. So this side is equal to this side, correct?
yes.
But triangle is not given away. So I have to take all the possible combinations, right? ABC could be this also.
True.
So in this case, this is 9, this is 9, this is 9. And to know the perimeter of all the sides, I need to know all the sides. So option number 1 says AB is equal to 9. So this is not sufficient because I am not sure about these sides. Correct. Now second statement is what a bit? BC is
BC
equal to
equals
4. So when you are looking into the second statement, option number 1 should not be in your head at all. So remove all these. So BC is equal to 4 means this is 4 or this could be 4, right?
Yes.
So again, we don't know the other side, so it's not sufficient a bit. Correct? Now we try and combine it a bit. So when I combine it, now I have this is 9, this is 9, and this is 9, this is 4, 4, 4. So what is my perimeter? 9 plus 9 plus 4, that is your 22. Here it is. 4 plus 4 plus 9, that is 17. Now tell me the answer. E. Because you've got two parameters.
So yeah, exactly. I got two answers, right?
Good, brilliant, Ray. But do look into the question. Do look into your solution a bit more properly. Tell me, is this a valid triangle in math?
Okay. Okay. No, it's
Sum
not.
of two sides should be greater than third side.
Yeah. Oh.
Right? So the answer should be C.
Okay.
In case if in place of 4 it would have been 9 away, 5. Then answer would have been E for sure.
Oh. Okay.
Right? So right now the answer
Okay.
is C. With question number with sides has 4, answer is C.
Very, very clear. Yeah. I see the trick on how to think about it this way. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole point is key questions are pretty easy, Abed. It's not that questions are tough, but the whole point is that how are you approaching makes a lot of difference. You have to look into the very minute details of a question. If you miss one thing and everything will be wrong for sure. Right?
Yeah,
So this
makes
is
sense.
one question that you did. You can do. So let's start with inequalities a bit. All these questions will actually come into when we are dealing with the respective chapters. Okay. And inequality is supposed to be one of the toughest topic of GMAT. So so this is what I did now is just I told you as to how should you approach a problem, what are the types of problem, like you have in DS you have two types of problem, is type and what type. So how should you go about it? That's as simple as it is. Okay. So let's start with inequality. I'll not do much today, but yes, I'll do so much that it will be good for you to practice in. Okay.
Okay.
So this is one of the most trickiest topic, inequality. So what happens, Sabid, in inequality? What is the most important thing that you should keep in your mind? The first thing is signs of variable. This is most important thing. So whenever a variable is written in front of you, you should be in position to decide that is the sign of that variable is actually defined or not defined. Okay. Signs of variables should be in your head, should be in your mind. The first thing when you are solving an inequality problem. Correct. Now let's say, Abid, when I say you xy greater than 0, what do you understand by this?
That x multiplied by y should be positive.
So what do you mean by? It means that sign of x and y are same. I've just told you sign of variables are very important. Everything has to be interpreted in terms of sign.
Okay.
So it means what? Sign of X and Y are same,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yes,
What do
so
you
they're
mean by
either
this?
positive. Yeah.
So what do you mean by this? If it is 2 cross 3, it is greater than 0. If it is minus 2 cross minus 3, it will be greater than 0, right?
Yes, correct.
So if sign of x is positive, y will be positive. If sign of x is negative, y will be negative. So xy greater than 0 means sign of x and y are same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clear a bit?
Clear.
So xy less than 0 means
They're different.
sign of x and y are opposite.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Signs of x and y are opposite means it means that if x is positive, y has to be negative. If x is negative, y has to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So based on the same logic, if I say you, let's say x minus a into x minus b less than 0. What do you mean by this?
X minus A.
It's simple. Let's say x minus 2 into x minus 5 less than 0. So these are the two, there'll be two formulas that you need to remember. It is not a formula for sure. It is just a solution. So it says if x minus a into x minus b less than 0, it means that x lies between a and b, Abid.
Oh,
And a is a smaller element always. Okay. And b is always a bigger element. It means, and please ensure that this form should be in form of x minus a into x minus b, okay? And minus and a, these are two different elements, okay?
mm-hmm.
This minus has nothing to do with this a. Again, this minus and this b, these are two different elements again.
Okay.
This minus, so this minus and this b, these are two different elements again.
Okay.
So, and when I say x minus a into x minus b less than 0, it means x lies between a and b. A is a smaller element, b is a bigger element. How it has come, I'll tell you, but you don't need to know that. So first of all, understand this. When I say x minus 2 into x minus 5 less than 0, what does it mean? So you first of all ensure that this would be in form of x minus a into x minus b form. This is actually in that form, x minus a into x minus b form, right?
Okay.
So which is the lesser element, 2 or 5? Don't look into this minus. You just have to look into this 2 and 5 and tell me which is the lesser element, 2, right?
2, yes.
So it means x will lie between 2 and
2 and
5. So what exactly is this, Abid? This is nothing but the solution of this inequality, right? So it is actually, it is not equal to, so you don't say equation, you say inequality.
Okay.
So what do you mean by solution of inequality? This means a bit simple that if you put any value of x between 2 and 5 here, this equation should satisfy. It means it should be less than 0. Put.
Okay. Because
Let's
it
say
will
you
have
put 3.
different signs.
Let's say you put 3. So 3 minus 2 is 1, right?
1.
3 minus 5 is what? Minus 2.
Minus 2.
So this has to be less than 0. So equation is pretty simple. X minus a into x minus b less than 0 means x will lie between a and b. It's as simple as it is. And this is nothing but, this is just a solution of equation. So this is no formula at all. It is just a solution of equation. But how do you get this array? How do you get this array? You don't have to know this, again, I'm telling you. But still, you can just see it here. This is less than 0, right? So it means what? Let's say if this is a and this is b and ab is less than 0, it means what? Now, if a can be greater than 0 and b can be less than 0, means a and b are of opposite sign, right?
Yes.
Or a can be less than 0 and b can be greater than 0, right?
Makes sense, yes.
So when you put these things in inequality, like when you say x minus 2 greater than 0, in place of a, you put x minus 2 greater than 0. And b is less than 0, it means x minus 5 should be less than 0. If x minus 2 is greater than 0, then x minus 5 should be less than 0, right? And if x minus 2 is less than 0, then x minus 5 should be greater than 0, right? Now when you plot this in number line, you will get this solution. X lies between 2 and 5. That's as simple as it is. Okay.
Okay.
So you don't have to exactly know. All you can do is that remember that it lies between A and B. Fine.
Yep. Fine. Yeah.
But now, let's say if I give you an equation, x minus 10 into x plus 2 less than 0, what you need to do now? Tell me the
This
solution
is
of that.
different. This is different. There is a plus now.
Now, this is not
Right?
different. You have to ensure that you convert it in this form first. It is exactly the same thing, but you need to convert it in this form. So how do you convert? You say x minus 10, okay? This is
Okay.
in same form. And again, this will be x minus of minus 2, right?
Oh, okay.
Now this is less than 0. Now see, which is the lesser element? 10. Don't look into this minus at all. You have to look 10. This minus should be as it is. Now let's say 10 and minus 2. Which is the lesser element? Minus 2, right?
Minus 2, yes.
So x will lie between minus 2 and 10. So whatever is the lesser element is your a. That's all. Understood?
Okay, very well, yes.
So this means nothing a bit. This is a solution. So if you put it into the main equation, any value, you will see that this equation satisfies. It's as simple as that. Okay.
Okay.
Now if I give you, I'm giving you 3 questions now. Let's say x plus 2 into x plus 5 less than 0. X minus 10 into x plus 5 less than 0. And x minus 3 into x minus 6 less than 0. Give me the solution of all the equation. Take 1 minute.
Okay, so the first one is minus x is larger than minus 5, between minus 5 and minus 2.
Brilliant. It is between minus 5 and minus 2. This will be between minus 5 and 10.
Yes.
And this will be between 3 and 6.
3 and 6, yes.
Simple. Good, Abel. So now you have got to know कि x minus a into x minus b less than 0 means x lies between a and b, right?
Yes.
But if I say a bit now to you, x minus a into x minus b greater than 0 means what? So this means x lies outside of a and b. That means x is less than a or x is greater than b. It means again a is a smaller element, by the way. And b is a bigger element.
Okay.
And again, minus and a, these are 2 different elements for sure. Same thing here, minus and b, these are 2 different elements. Okay.
Okay.
So simple. If I say you, let's say x minus 2 into x minus 5 greater than 0. This means, first of all, you will see greater than 0. That is important. So if x minus 2 and x minus 5 greater than 0, what is the lesser element? 2 and 5, right? 2 is a lesser one.
Yes.
So it means that x will lie outside of 2 and 5. It means x is less than 2 or x is greater than 5. Again, this is nothing, this is just a solution of the equation. When I say solution of the equation, it means that you put it back into the equation and you see the equation should satisfy. Put any value. X less than 2, you can put 1. Put 1 and check. X greater than 5, you can put 6, 7 and check. Should satisfy. Right?
Okay.
Clear a bit?
Yes.
So on a similar logic, if it is x plus 10 into x plus 20 greater than 0, tell me, what is the solution?
So x is less than minus 20.
Brilliant.
Or x is bigger than minus 10.
Good. So this is nothing but you put any value over here, it should satisfy. It will satisfy for sure. Clear?
Okay. Clear.
So Abed, now see, if I say you a is greater than b. A is greater than b, right? You have no idea about the signs of a and b.
Yeah.
Or no, you have, when it says a is greater than b, a is a number which is greater than b for sure. So let's say 10 is greater than 5. Simple. Okay. So a is greater than b. Can you say, Abed, to me that am will be greater than bm?
No.
Until you are sure about the sign of m, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. Sure about sign of m, right? So it says that if a is greater than b, you can't say am will be greater than bm until you are sure about the sign of m. So let's say when I say 10 is greater than 5, I can surely say 10 cross 2 is greater than 5 cross 2, right? But can you say 10 cross minus 2 is greater
No.
than 5 cross minus 2? No.
No.
So if A is greater than B, you can't say AM is greater than BM until you are sure about the sign of M. That's as simple as it is. Clear?
Clear.
So let's open inequality. So option number 1 says you same thing. If A is greater than B, you are not, then AM is greater than BM for M greater than 0, AM is less than BM for M less than 0, right?
Okay.
Point number 2 says you, Abid, that whenever you are solving an inequality problem, what are the possible values that you should be taking? It just says, let's say you have 1, 0, right? You can take 1 and you can take minus 1. Okay. You can take half. You can take minus half. You can take 1 by 3. You can take minus 1 by 3. You can do 2 by 3. You can take minus 2 by 3. You can take 3 by 4. You can take minus 3 by 4. So these are the normal values that you should take. But Abid, please understand, you can take 2 by 3 for sure, but you should not take 3 by 2. Why?
Because it's more than 1.
Absolutely. If an equation that satisfies for 1, it will satisfy for 3 by 2 also. So if you have already taken 1 and you are taking 3 by 2, or let's say you are taking 4 by 3, you are doing nothing but wasting your time. Because 4 by 3, 3 by 2 is greater than 1. So actual fraction is between 0 and 1.
Sure.
Or minus 1. This is called actual fraction. 3 by 2 and all, these are fraction, no doubt. But if equation satisfies for 1, it will satisfy for 3 by 2 also, 4 by 3 also. That's as simple as it is. Okay. Clear?
Okay.
So
Clear.
option number 3 is the what we did. X minus A into, point number 3, X minus A into X minus B less than 0 means X lies between A and B. If this is greater than 0 means X lies outside of A and B, correct? Now point number 4, Abid, it says X square greater than X. It means either X is greater than 1 or X is negative, right?
Yes.
But how do you do that, Abid? Do you think you'll have a time to think there? So if it is simply I've written X square greater than X. So all you should do, Abid, is just try and solve it. That's all. Don't use your mind there at all. So when you solve it, how do you solve it? Can you cut this square and this square and say X is greater than 1?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, you can't do it. Why? You can do it if it is given to you in the question that X is positive. Sign is defined positive.
Okay.
But if signs of variables are not defined, you can't do this operation. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we solve it? So simple. Take it on one side. So X square minus X is greater than 0, right? So you take common, it becomes X minus 1 greater than 0, right?
Okay.
And this X is nothing but I can write it X minus 0. Something minus 0 is something.
Yeah.
Is greater than 0, right? Now
Yes.
X minus A into X minus B greater than 0 means X is less than 0 or X is greater than 1. So this equation should satisfy for this. So X square greater than X simply means that either X is negative or X is greater than 1. That's all. That is what they have told you here. Right?
Okay.
X square less than X means? Just solve it. X square minus X is less than 0. X into X minus 1 is less than 0. So X minus 0 into X minus 1 is less than 0. This means nothing but X lies between 0 and 1.
Between 0 and 1.
That's all. Simple, right?
Okay.
Point number X square is equal to X means X is either 0 or 1, right? Point number 6.
Then X. Okay.
It says X square is equal to X. It means nothing but X square minus X is equal to 0, right? So X into X minus 1 is equal to 0, right? So either X is 0 or X minus 1 is equal to 0. X minus 1 is equal to 0 means X is equal to 1.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
Now see, if I say you, if X is greater than Y, can I say X square is greater than Y square?
No, because I don't know. Maybe it's a fraction. Maybe it's
A fraction and maybe it's a number. Let's say 20 is greater than 10, right? Or
Yeah.
simple. Let's say 10 is greater than 5. I can surely say 10 square is greater than 5 square, right? But
Yeah.
10 can also be greater than minus 20. Do
Exactly.
you think 10 square will be greater than minus 20 whole square?
No.
No. So if x is greater than y, x square is greater than y square, not necessarily true
Mm.
until you are sure about the values of x and y, correct? So
Yes.
all you can conclude from here, Abed, that even powers are never predicted. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Abed, there's a brilliant question. Question number one, really tougher one. But this question will tell you exactly how should you solve inequality problem for sure. So take 2 minutes, try solving question number one.
It's x 4, x to the power
X to the power 4 plus y to the power 4 greater than z to the power 4. So I want that you think a lot. So I do understand it will be tougher for you. So the option number one says x square plus y square is greater than z square. So you can't straight away tell me, ki, Rahul, even powers are not predicted. So we'll strike it this option out. So you can surely tell this, but you can tell that after a certain amount of practice that you have done for your inequality. So right now, when I'm asking you to solve this, you will have to take number. There is no other way. I'll try my best. I'll try my best a bit that I'll solve 90% of question algebraically where you are not supposed to take number and you'll get a confirm answer. But there are some questions where you must take number, and taking numbers actually it increases your thought process. There is no way to take number for sure. No one can teach you how should you be taking a number. That only comes with a good amount of practice. So please invest your 2 to 3 minutes in this question. You can invest 5 minutes also. I have no issues at all. I can give you for this question 5 minutes. Please take your time and take 5 minutes. I have no issues, but please do come with some conclusive stuff from your end. Okay.
Okay, let me see.
I'll just come a bit in 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
And then you please try.
Okay. Rahul, are you there?
Yes, Abhay, done.
I'm stuck, my friend.
Yes, you will be stuck. This is a tough question, Abhay. This is a very tough question. But
Actually, I didn't know how to start. Like, I didn't know where to begin.
so this question actually says teaches you how to solve data sufficiency problem. The question is x4 plus y4 greater than
Z4.
z4? The first option that is given to you, x square plus y square greater than z square. The second option that is given to you, x plus y greater than z, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm so like I have a habit of writing Z as this,
Okay.
so please don't mind. Okay.
No, 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 fine, fine.
Okay. So see, what happens is that here, Abid, you can straight away say me, कि Rahul, event powers are not predicted. This is not sufficient. But initially, when you are doing it, you must take numbers and do. Thinking about numbers helps you a lot. So when you say that, and always remember, statements are absolute. So what do you mean by this? That you cannot challenge the statement. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
You cannot challenge the statement. Okay. It means, Abid, that you have to take a number which satisfies this equation and one time satisfies this equation. That's a yes condition, right?
Okay.
And then you have to take a number which satisfies this statement but does not satisfy this statement. Only then you get a no condition and you say this is not sufficient, correct? So let's assume a number. I can assume anything. So can I say x, if I take, let's say x is equal to 100, say, y is equal to 100, Abed, and let's say z is equal to 1. Can I say for these numbers, x square plus y square is surely greater than z square?
For these numbers, yeah.
And x4 plus y4 is surely greater than z4?
For these numbers, yes.
Because x4 is 10,000. 10,000 plus 10,000 is surely greater than 1, right?
Yeah.
So it's a yes situation to you?
Yes.
But if I say you this, Abed, let's say x is equal to 4, y is equal to 4, and z equal to 5, right? Can I say x square plus y square is greater than z square? Check. 4 square plus 4 square, 16 plus 16, 32, greater than 25, right?
Yes.
But for these numbers, can you say x4 plus y4 is greater than z4?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Please check. So 4 to the power 4 is what? 4 to the power 4 is what? 216? If you put 4 over here, it is 216, right?
It's 256.
256. Sorry. 256. And this is 256, right? This is surely
so
not greater than 625. This will be 500 something, and this is 625, right?
Yeah.
Now you have a no situation to this.
Okay.
Now you can say this statement is not sufficient. Is that clear? So
okay,
yeah,
okay.
I do understand that there could be a question from your end that, Rahul, how do I think about the number? But Abed, this will only come with the practice.
Okay.
But you should be smart in taking some numbers. Now imagine, Abed, like obviously it comes with the practice, but then again you can't keep some random numbers and start thinking about it. So you have to be very smart. So when you are trying to make z4 greater than x4 plus y4, then it is very sure, Abed, that you have to take a number z such that which is greater than x and y for sure. Because if you take if you take g less than x and y, then x and y, x4 plus y4 can never be greater than z4 for sure, and will always be greater than z4, right? So all you need to understand when I'm taking a number, because I have to prove that z4 is greater, right?
Okay.
So I have to ensure that my value of z should be greater than value of x and y.
Okay.
But it should be very close to each other, because you have to satisfy the statement also. A statement says x square plus y square should be greater than z square, right?
Okay.
You cannot challenge the statement. You have to take such number which first of all satisfies this statement, and then one time it satisfies the question and one time it does not satisfy the question, for us to say that this statement is not sufficient. It's very easy to say even powers are not predicted and this is not sufficient for sure, but how do you show it? By taking some numbers. That is important. So when you are taking numbers, you should be very, very cautious enough. Okay, you can't take some random numbers and try proving it. Moment if you take, like, let's say what I did in the first option, I take x is equal to 100, y is equal to 100, z is equal to 1. I proved that x square plus y square is greater than z square. I proved x4 plus y4 is greater than z4, right? But when you are proving a no situation and you take z value less than x and y, then it is impossible that you will be able to prove that x4 plus y4 is greater than z4, right?
Okay.
Because the big hint is given that these are square terms. So even powers are not predicted for sure. This will not be an answer for sure. But how do you show it by taking numbers? That's important. Got it?
Got it. So just let me tell you what I understood.
Right.
So basically, how to start answering this question is to start with some numbers, just like basically maybe
But
100, 100.
in exam, I would never say you to start with numbers. You can straight away see even powers. It will not be predicted for sure. You can 100% say it is not sufficient. But when you're practicing in home, you must take a number. Only until you do not take number and practice, Abhed, you will never be confidently able to say even powers are not predicted. I can say very confidently now because I have done some 100 problems like this.
Okay.
So that you will have to do. So statement number 1 is not sufficient, correct? Clear?
Clear.
So let's look for statement number 2. So statement number 2 says x plus y greater than z, right? I can take the same numbers again, Abhed. X plus y greater than z. So always ensure statements are absolute. You cannot take a number which challenges the statement. So let me take again x is equal to same thing. X is equal to 100, y is equal to 100, z is equal to 1. So you can take any number. I prefer to take extreme number and make a first test. But there are sometimes when extreme number will not help. Then again, you can get into the fractions and numbers and all. But I always prefer to take first numbers before I go into fraction. So if I do this, can I say x plus y greater than z for these numbers?
Yes.
Can I say x4 plus y4 is greater than z4?
These numbers, yes.
So it's a yes situation. But if I take again the same number, Abhed, let's say x is equal to 4, y is equal to 4, and z is equal to 5. So can I say x plus y greater than z?
Yes.
But I can't say x4 plus y4 greater than z4, right?
Sure.
So again, this is a no condition. You have a yes and no condition. This statement is also not sufficient, right?
Okay.
Correct. Now what you do, you try and combine. But if you take in combination same number, again it is not sufficient, right? So let's say now I'm trying to combine. Now I'm putting x is equal to 100, y is equal to 100, z is equal to 1. For these numbers, can I say x square plus y square is greater than z square?
Yes.
Can I say x plus y greater than z?
Yes.
Can I say x4 plus y4 greater than z4?
Yes.
And now Abid, for the same number again, let's say x is equal to 4, y is equal to 4, z is equal to 5. Can I say x square plus y square is greater than z square?
Yes.
Can I say x plus y greater than z?
Yes.
But I can't say x4 plus y4 greater than z4, right?
True.
So you have a yes situation, you have a no situation. Again, on combination also it is not sufficient. So your answer should be E. Got it, Abid?
Got it. Very, very well.
So, but please ensure, Abid, you will do all these problems again. You have a video with you. So please ensure that you will do all these problems again, what we are doing now. 100%.
Okay.
So you will be good in inequalities when you are doing this, when each and every question from this handout is completely understood. So what I mean to say, so when I ask you to practice inequality question, so before you start practicing some unseen question, you should ensure one thing very clearly, Abid, that these questions, what we are solving now, should be 100% in your mind as to how you need to approach each and every question. Only then you are supposed to go and solve unseen question. Before that, no. And I can 100 for the fact challenge you this away that if these 30 questions that we are solving, 35 questions that we are solving, if each and every question is there in your head with the process, trust me, any questions of inequality for GMAT you will be able to solve within 2 minutes and almost with 99% accuracy. So there is nothing called theory. The theory is that these are the 35 questions that should be in your head for the inequality chapter. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but now we'll solve question number 1. Now try solving me question number 3. I'll go randomly. I'll just make you solve some very conceptual question. I'll ensure that I do every question. So please keep marking what are the questions that we have done. Question number 3, take 2 minutes.
Sorry, Rahul, just give me 1 second.
Sure, please.
Hey, Rahul.
Yeah.
Bro, sorry,
how do you approach this problem?
Rahul, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Tell me a bit.
I just got some unexpected guests.
Okay. So we'll continue
I might.
in the next class.
Okay.
So what you want? Tell me.
So when are we having our next session?
Tuesday night.
Okay. Does Saturday work for you?
Saturday I have completely occupied with my work a bit. Complete Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Just try managing one dinner Tuesday night. It should be fine.
Okay. So Tuesday, what time? So we just look it.
So what exactly we can do is that for Tuesday a bit. So it should be my 10 o'clock would be 8:30 at your time. 8:30 at your time is fine for you. 8:30 to 11:30
yes.
for you.
Okay.
Or we can do 8 o'clock from your time to 11 o'clock. But sometime I'm late from office, Abed. So this will be 100% sure. If I'm back, most of the class will do from 8 to 11 by your time. Okay.
Okay.
So this is Tuesday timing. It's absolutely okay now, Abed. Not a problem. No. Try managing for one day, I would say.
Okay, I will do that.
And Friday, Abed, will start from 8:30, usual time of yours, to 8:30 to 11:30 for your time. So 3 hours, let's keep. I don't think so 3 hours you will be able to sustain in the session. We'll be closing it in 2.5 hours for sure. But the slot I will give you for 3 hours.
Okay, good.
So your next homework would be Abed, inequality. Try completing all the questions, all.
Okay.
Complete all questions. And I don't want that. I don't expect that you do one question with single percent 100% accuracy. But all I want that please try.
Okay.
Give a very honest and genuine effort in all these questions. Fine. You can afford to leave 2 questions away. You please mark it off. Question number 26 you leave it, and question number 35 is the ratio question that we'll do in the ratio chapter. So question number 26 and 35 you can afford to leave it.
Okay.
So rest you do all the questions, and there are a bit like for verbal, there's a humongous job that you have to do. So I've sent you an email. So did you complete Maximize Your Writing Book scorebook?
Not all of it. I think I completed 2 chapters.
No, but complete till parallelism, and you should not take more than. So finish it by Saturday for sure. At least chapter number 4, parallelism.
Okay.
So after this chapter a bit, what you need to do is that I'll open the mail that I've sent you. After this question, you have essay rules and essay rules solution. So essay rules says what? There are 50 questions over here. Okay. These are the 50 questions. Fine.
Okay.
And in essay rules solution, there is explanation of these 50 questions. So I don't want that you read the question and analyze by yourself. All I want, you read question number 1 and see the explanation over here and try your best to understand the explanation. Okay.
Okay.
And what I'll do now, that these are the 50 questions that I discussed in the class for 2 days. So maximize your writing score is book is to build up your background. Okay. You will build up, you'll do that, you study that so that you understand this well. But please do not give more than Saturday for maximize your writing score, Abid. This is a restrictions for you. So you will give it till Saturday. From Sunday, you will start reading this question number 1 to 50. And there are 39 page in the solution. You don't have to read complete 139 page. You just read till answers 50. And that is till 40 pages, I think. Okay.
Okay, clear.
And what I will do now is that I'll share a video where I have explained all these 50 questions.
Perfect.
So watch the entire video, and once you watch the video and then you discuss with me in the class, so you will be in a very good position to discuss with me. You will not just listen to me, you will actually discuss with me. So I'll be sending you those videos. So what will happen in the first class, Abid, we'll do till question number 20 of this. That is next Friday. Okay. So next Friday, please, I'm writing a homework. It is recorded anyway. Next Friday, we'll discuss question number 1 to 20 from SC rules.
Okay.
So I would want that you read the entire stuff if you can, but do read till question number 20 for sure. This is compulsory. Okay. And I'll send you the videos of this entire video of entire questions where I have explained it very properly. The whole point is that when you watch a video, you will have a lot of things you will have a lot of doubts, you will have a lot of stuff to ask. So it is much better that if you're prepared from before.
Okay, thanks, Rahul.
So the class will be fruitful. So I'll send these videos to you.
See you on Tuesday.
Yeah. So, and we'll meet on Tuesday. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, man.
Okay, Abid. Chalo.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.